In this episode, strategies for prepping your meals. How to manja like a boss.
The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the bacon is sizzling. Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 234 of the Daily Mother Swole. Flex them if you got them. If you're watching the show, it's just standard that you flex as well. Even if you're just watching, you're not saying anything, and no one's watching you, you just flex it up. That way, nature, and that way, the spirits that be can admire the fucking gains, even if no one else is. But if I were there, I'd be watching you, and I'd be giving you a nice little golf clap because I'm respectful like that. This episode is all about strategies for prepping your meals. Thank you for joining me live on Facebook at 12 noon Eastern Time every day. Thanks for watching on YouTube. As always, microphone in the face for SoundCloud and iTunes. So thank you for listening in on the podcast. Before we get started, does everyone have their coffee? Did everyone have enough coffee this weekend? Everyone have enough time with their families? Enough is enough already. Enough of that shit. Let's get back on with get back on with the daily life on your own in peace and quiet. No, I'm kidding. I had a great time. I hope you all did too. I hope everyone had a enjoyable weekend with family and friends and loved ones and all that good stuff, and that you got lots of gains in your stockings or under your menorah or wherever you hang the presents or put the presents under the candles. But I do have to say, Hanukkah is pretty sweet. Fire. If you like playing with fire, that's the holiday for you, so look into that if you're interested. But if you like trees and pine needles and fat men coming down chimneys, let's rip open some fucking gifts. I got some good stuff. I got a lot of candy, got a lot of gains, but I ate a lot of food. And I saw some comments feeling full, ate a ton of food. And yesterday when I went live, everyone was like, just, eating, getting stuffed. So I hope you got your fill in, and remember we talked a little bit about before the holidays. If you were dieting, if you're trying to see results, if you're on a roll, make sure you stick to your guns, make sure you do what's right for you, what's right by you, and do those little strategies like smaller plates, smaller bites, stopping when you're 75, 80% full, cutting things down a little bit, using strategies to not overeat during the holidays. And that's common, desserts and things like that. But if you did splurge, I hope you made it worth your while. I hope you had fun, but now it's back to work because the holidays are over. New Year's is just a couple drinks and then, yay, it's New Year, but now we're back to fucking work. So strategies for prepping your meals. Let's get into it. Share the broadcast. Let everyone know that we're talking about fitness when no one's talking about fitness. People are pushing their stuff like, get in shape, or here we go, we're going to do this, or buy this food, or buy this protein bar. No, we're talking about real fitness. And on Swolenormous, we always talk about fitness the way it really is on the Daily Swole. We talk about the realities of exercise, the realities of nutrition, and the struggles that real people are going through every day, and how to actually make change in your life. We're not talking about simple, foofy, quick fix bullshit. These are strategies for the rest of your life. These are things that you can change that will benefit you through any program, through any workout, through any diet plan, anything you do in the realm of life and exercise and health. These are all strategies that you can use no matter what you decide to do moving forward. So here are some things, simple little talking points that we can discuss later in premium, that you can comment below, that you can talk about with your friends and family and tell them, this guy on the Daily Swole, he knows his stuff, gabish? He's got a fucking pulse on things. First off, buying in bulk. Some of you go to the store every day. That's fine. Everyone's going to have their own strategy, their own routine. Some of you live far away from a supermarket, but there's always those places like Costco's, BJ's. But even online, I think a lot of us are buying more and more stuff online, but understand you can buy groceries and things that are maybe non-perishables that you'll buy at the supermarket or you'll buy at a warehouse store, but you can buy in bulk ahead of time. And the reason why you would buy in bulk is, one, you can cook in bulk, and also because it's generally cheaper if you buy more of it. And when you are prepping meals, you're preparing meals, and you're preparing them ahead of time. Now, if you have the capacity, the ability to be consistent and make a meal whenever you need it, when you need it, let's say you're working from home or you have access to a kitchen where you're hungry, you make the meal. You have the time to do it at the moment and you're that type of person, that's okay. Eating fresh is fine, eating it at the moment, but most of us are going through our day where we don't have time to sit down and make food. We'll get distracted, and then if we get distracted and get wrapped up in things, we end up not eating because we don't have the food made. So if you let yourself or give yourself the opportunity or give yourself or put yourself in the situation where you need to make food when you need to eat it, a lot of times you can fall behind because you don't have it made and you're just like, I'm not going to eat it because I'm busy. Or I'm not going to make food because I'm busy. Well, if you have it already, you're more likely to shovel it into your mouth rather than, let me cook, let me cut this up, let me defrost this, and this, that, and the other. So buying in bulk can help you prepare because you have that food all at once and you can make it all at one time. Things like coffee even. Things like coffee, you might like it hot. I know a lot of you live in cold climates. I don't. But if you want coffee ahead of time, you can also look into making cold brew where you grind the beans and you put the grounds in a container with water and you soak them for 14, 16 hours at least, and you'll have your coffee, which is more caffeinated, by the way, and less acidic, but you'll have that cold brew coffee where you can strain, where you will have coffee already made. You can always heat that up later, but you'll have coffee made where you might not be able to have coffee in the morning. You like to do your French press, you like to do whatever your style is. You don't have an automatic brewer, whatever it is, you can always do cold brew. You don't need a coffee maker. Some of you might not realize that. You can make cold brew coffee and there's more caffeine because more time in contact with the water will leach more caffeine into the fluid. That way you can get a higher caffeinated, and a less acidic, but it won't be warm when you take it out of the fridge, for example, but you'll have it made. So if you're trying to cut down time, cold brew coffee could be something simple that can be a great start to your day. It's not really a meal per se, as per the title of the episode, but it's a strategy to get things done ahead of time. You can cook all your meals in one day. You can cook everything in one day and one time. Sunday could be meal prep day, Friday, Tuesday, whatever it is for you. You can cook all your meals in one day. And then you can freeze them. Sometimes you might make fish, you might make chicken where you don't necessarily want to make it on Sunday and then eat the same thing on Friday. For you, it could be maybe put in a certain sauce where if I leave it in the fridge for a few days, it might get a little, funkadelic by Wednesday, Thursday. So you can make your meals and then freeze a few of them, like let's say Wednesday or Thursday and Friday's meals, or Thursday on through Saturday's meals, put them in the freezer, and then you can thaw them when you're about to eat them on Wednesday or Thursday, or whatever else the case might be. Or if not, you can just have them in individual containers. Or this is the next part, smaller containers. Some of you like to do those little 2-serving containers or 3-serving where you have the main food like the meat or the protein, then you have a couple other little vegetable sections in your Tupperwares, and you have them all stacked up all nicely. But you could also do big containers. Put all your meat or all your protein in one container. Then all your carbs, let's say sweet potatoes, in another container. And then all your vegetables in another container. And then you could just take out what you need from each container, major container, and put it on a plate and then eat it at the time. The only thing I have to say about the big containers is that you might overeat. Unless you know exactly how much you're eating or how much you should be eating, or you kind of know, okay, on this plate or on this bowl, X amount is approximately the amount of calories I need, you might not know whether or not you're overeating or not. So if you have a big container of like chicken, you might take too much chicken or scoop too much out too much, let's say ground beef, rather than have it in a pre-made Tupperware if you weigh it out before. The more strict you are with your nutrition and the more on point you're trying to keep with your calories, I would say pre-weigh or pre-measure all the containers out ahead of time, because then when you open that container, you're getting this amount, this amount, this amount. If you have in a big container, you're scooping it out, either you're weighing it or you're measuring it at the moment, or you just don't care as much and you're kind of eyeballing it. But it's up to you with how, dedicated you are. I shouldn't say dedicated, with how specific that you feel you need to be with your nutrition. Some of us don't weigh ourselves as much or don't weigh the food, you kind of eyeball it. Some of you might be really strict down to the ounce or the gram. So if you do that, then that would be a better option. That way you wouldn't have to worry about weighing it at the moment. So separate containers or larger containers, just a little sub-strategy for those of you that might be thinking, well, how am I going to do this? Where am I going to put it all? You can get those little Tupperwares that separate, or the glass containers and separate, or you could just have them all in one big container and then take it out when you need it. For that day even, you could have couple big containers in the fridge, and then for that day when you're prepping, let's say you wake up in the morning, if you're an early riser, or the night before, you put some food in a couple containers at that moment. That way you don't have to do it ahead of time. You just take them out what you want, and then you put those containers aside in your cooler for the workday on Monday or Tuesday, and then every night before you might separate the meals at that point, not necessarily the first day when you first cook them. That's up to you. So in addition to that, those are your meals for the day. But most of you are home when you're at home, you're not traveling all the time. So you wake up and you might have your meals, you grab your cooler. What are you eating for breakfast? A lot of people, and myself included, I need to get back into this because I usually wake up and just get going, is making your breakfast the night before. And I make like an oatmeal, egg mixture the night before, and I'll put it in the fridge, and I either eat it cold or I'll heat it up in the morning. But you can make your breakfast the night before. And some people do things like overnight oats, where they soak oats in certain liquids and yogurts and stuff like that, whatever they do. You might want to look up overnight oats. There's some different ways of doing it, or in those little mason jars. But you can make your breakfast the night before and have it ready. And this is really effective because most of us get not enough sleep. Let's be honest, not enough sleep, or you're not a morning person because probably you don't get enough sleep, and you wake up and then everything's hectic and you're running out the door. But then you might be in the car driving to work for half an hour when you can eat in the car. You can eat, at a red light, or you can stop, or you can kind of snack on your breakfast on the way, where you might be running out of the house really quickly, and then you might have time afterwards. Or once you get to work, then you're able to sit down and eat. Some people have time when they get to work. They're opening a store. They're doing X, Y, and Z. They're not really kicking into full gear until the next hour or two, so you have some time to eat. So you might want to make your breakfast the night before. That way you're not stuck with eating out, or eating at one of those breakfast carts at work, or you're trying to eat something on the way, fast food crap. You're making something the night before that you can either heat up at work or heat up in the morning. You could sit down and eat it in the morning. You just don't have to make it all in the morning. And if you do want to heat up in the morning or finish cooking in the morning, for example, you might want to undercook it. So if you're making oatmeal and stuff for the night before, you leave it a little bit wet. You don't cook it completely. That way when you heat up in the morning, it doesn't overcook. You can just kind of finish the cooking process in the morning. You could do it that way as well. Leave your eggs a little wet if you want to throw them in the skillet. But at any rate, you'll have a situation where you're kind of halfway done, or 80% of the way done, or completely done, where you can just grab your food and then get going. And you can do this 1 or 2 days in advance. It depends on what you're eating, how long it'll last. Everyone has their own flow for breakfast. You could do shakes. You could do whatever you feel is best for you. But try thinking about that. Cooking the night before, it could be really effective. And also, your portable cooler, how you're transporting your meals. Some of you might have access to a fridge at work. That's okay. And if you have, depends on the space. That's, if you have 30 people sharing a refrigerator, you might have to have a little section. So you might not be able to bring a big freaking cooler to shove in the fridge. But if you have a portable cooler, your food will stay fresh all day. You don't have to worry about refrigerating frozen meals or things that are, that have been refrigerated all night long. They're in a cooler during the day. They're not going to go bad. They'll be good the entire day. So you can keep that by your desk, keep your snacks, keep things like walnuts, almonds, whatever snacks during the day, fruit, whatever, what have you. And make it so when you're cooking your meals, or when you're prepping your meals, you have to prep your meals based on what your needs are and what your job is like. Don't make a complicated meal that you need a knife and fork and a napkin in your collar and one pinky up if you're running around like crazy, doing customer service. You're not going to be able to sit down and have a 3-course meal. You might need to rely more on things like kind of homemade protein bar styles, or little granola type mixes, and things that can get you through the day that could be more snacks. So not everyone can do 6 small meals. Some people have to be more 3 larger meals and smaller snacks, for example, because of your daily life, because of what you do, because of what your capacity is. If you have a break during the day, you might have 1 break. We can have a larger meal, but other times you might be able to sneak some food when you're taking a bathroom break, or let me take 5 minutes. I need to go use the restroom. You can eat something on the way, and I know some of you have those situations. So understand and kind of reflect a little bit on what your capacity is at work, what you're able to do during the day, and then modify and adjust your prepping schedule for food around that. If you're very busy during the day, you're going to need things that are easy to eat, finger type foods, things you can hold, things you can eat that aren't messy, that you don't need a knife and fork, things that aren't going to get everywhere, that aren't going to stink a lot. You don't want to have garlic and onions if you're doing a lot of customer service. If you're doing a lot of phone conversations and you talk on the phone all day, that's not going to, your breath isn't going to be as big of a concern. But if you're face to face with people, you're a hairdresser, you're a barber, you're not going to want to be eating, garlic chicken in the back and then having another, cutting someone's hair, and or a dentist, and you're all up in someone's face. So you need to adjust your meal consumption and what you're eating accordingly. But the simple strategies of making the night before, making it all in one day, putting in either smaller containers or larger containers and breaking it down, that can be simple. Some people get a little anxiety if they're going to think, oh man, I'm going to have to fill up 30 containers for the week, 6 meals a day, 5 days. That's going to be too much. Well, not if you get a couple big Tupperwares and just freaking fill those up and then worry about it on the daily, because you're not cooking, you're just taking it out and putting it in a container on Monday night or Tuesday night. That's simple. Okay, when you're cooking that one day, you can just load up the one container, don't worry about it, and then the night before, you can make a couple different veggies or a couple different types of carbs, and then when the night before, what do you feel like eating tomorrow? Oh, I think I'll have this instead of sweet potatoes. I'm kind of tired of those. So you have other options, and then you'll learn how much to cook, how much to prep before. If you're overcooking too much, I'm making way too much asparagus, that stuff's kind of getting a little watery or funky around Thursday, so I'll maybe not cook that much. Or maybe you cook vegetables twice a week, or if you have fish, that doesn't last as long as, let's say, steak or chicken. So you have to adjust a little bit and see what works best for you. But you can always cook and then freeze and then thaw and heat up, and also your breakfast the night before. And certain meals that people miss are usually breakfast. Things that people usually miss out on are bringing snacks or bringing food to work. So the fact that you can prep breakfast the night before, don't think that breakfast has to be done in the morning. You can always get ahead of yourself and prep your breakfast as well as your meals. And the most important thing is that you're getting the food. The reason for prepping is that you're getting the food that you should be eating when you need to eat it. And when you're at work or you're out in the world running errands, doesn't matter, and you don't have your nutrition, you're forced to look elsewhere or starve yourself. And, fasting a little bit isn't always a bad thing, but in general, you need to be consistent. And if you're not consistent, and if you're up one day and down one day, and you don't have what you need when you need it, you're forced to choose from the options around you. And that's where it can get sticky, where it's not just, if it fits your macros. Well, if it fits your macros, but it's filled with whipped cream and high fructose corn syrup, yeah, it's not fitting your macros too well, because it's going to be, giving you cancer on the inside. And that's an exaggeration, but in other words, it's not going to be benefiting you the way a healthy meal that you prepped the night before would have been. Okay, so make sure you're making better decisions. Be aware of what you can do, be aware of what you will do, and make it a point with your family, with your spouse, or on a certain day, turn the TV on, watch your weekly show on Netflix or something like that, put it on, and then cook some meals, throw like a bunch of chicken breasts in on a tray, or steak, or tuna, or chicken, or fish, or eggs, or whatever. Do it all at once and be done with it for the week, or at least for a couple days, and clear up your brain space for other things like getting your workouts in, taking care of your kids, clean the house, whatever it's going to be. But when you do everything at once, you open your mind up and open your capacity up to get more things done during the week that aren't always in the kitchen, and it'll just keep you more consistent. Okay? Thank you for joining me for episode 234 of the Daily Mother Swole. I'll see Premium at 1 p.m. for accountability, Q&A, and just follow-ups for the week and the weekend, since it's a holiday weekend. So I'll see you in half an hour on Premium. If you are interested in the private membership group, you can go and click on my sign-up button at the top of the Facebook page, or go to Swolenormous.com to access Premium. Click on Get Premium, sign up, fill out the application, and then request access to the private Facebook group after you sign up. So thank you for joining me on Facebook Live every day at 12 noon Eastern Time, watching on YouTube, listening on SoundCloud and iTunes. I will check you out at 1 o'clock Premium, and I'll see everyone else tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern Time for episode 235 of the Daily Mother Swole. Peace out. Enjoy the rest of your Monday.